to be alone. The kid is so afraid to be down. I'm so high right here, you don't even know. The kid is so afraid to be alone. The kid is so afraid to be down.
Give me something to relax, babe. My thrill gone and my girl gone. Token ain't fit, just a bent bridge that I built this world on. 17, you couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna be the biggest deal. Feeling out that relationship, show me failure, it's in me still. Caught on camera, baby, found out her boyfriend got history. I fucked that hoe.
Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I'm your host, John Keane. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. I ask that you please add, follow, check us out, www.spreaker.com/user/Best Damn Podcast. Also check out the bestdampodcast.tv. Follow me Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and wherever you're watching from. Please make sure to subscribe, follow, hit the like, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and share. Share, help us get it out there. And let's see who we got in the chat here, get my chat working. I appreciate everybody for joining me tonight. I'm getting started a little bit early. I've got quite the treat though for tonight. We're going to be getting into some really cool shit tonight. We're going to be talking about the Gnostic Sethians and the Law of One in Wadjet. Today I took a trip to the Baltimore Art Museum, and I'm telling you guys, I got some amazing photos from the actual trip today. And you know, one thing that becomes more and more apparent the more that I research, the more that I get into these things and just dive deeper down the rabbit hole of knowledge and just seeking wisdom, the more I come to the conclusion that, you know, everything is one, everything is whole and connected, and the only thing that is dividing us, period, is the illusion of separation. You see it across every religious spectrum. You see it across every school of thought, every philosophy, theosophy. It doesn't matter which route you go. When you're looking into knowledge, the truth always will reveal itself. It makes itself known. It makes itself apparent. And it's self-evident, right? It's self-evident. So tonight we're going to look at the truth of religion in general. And like I said, I went to the Baltimore, I think it's Walter Reed Art Museum today. And I had so many pictures that I got from it that the artifacts, they had broken the heads off of the artifacts or the hands off of the artifacts, like all through the museum, like trying to hide you know, a lot of the things that they don't want people to see. But one thing that was still very prominent, you know, theme throughout the entirety of the museum was that they are trying to convey the secret message to the people with the eyes to see and the ears to hear, through sculptures, through paintings, through words, text, right? Every way that we see a manifestation of our own creation, there's a spirit, right? The spirit is there when we create, right? Anytime we create. And we can't help but tell our story. Our story comes out in a variety of ways. Always the same. Always the same. Looks like we have Claudette Malespina, Shelley Philippi, Graceful Heart, Tiffany Twisted, Tonya Womack, Tim Hamby, Matt Kozniak over on Facebook Live, Shay Finley. Thank you. I appreciate everybody. I don't even know if Just Call Me Lilith. Hi, thank you for the coffee mug. Oh, that's what's up. I'm glad you got a coffee mug. That's cool. Thank you for being a patron. I appreciate that. All right, man. So let's go ahead and get into this. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the cult of Set. And guys, I've got some cool fucking texts too we're going to be getting into. We're going to also, and this is going to be towards the end of the night, we're going to be getting into a little bit of weather modification as well. And when you see how it goes with all of this, that's what's going to rock your world, right? So tonight we're going to be talking about Wadjet and the Eye of Ra. Wadjet. Wadjet is known as the Green One, known to the Greek world as Uto or Buto, among other renderings including Wadjet, Uajet, Ujo, and was originally the ancient local goddess of the city of Dep. It became part of the city of the Egyptians named Per-Wadjet or House of Wadjet, and the Greeks called Buto, now Dusuk, which was an important site in prehistoric Egypt and cultural developments in the Paleolithic. There was also Per-Wadjet in Upper Egypt. And remember, anytime that we're ever talking about Upper and Lower Egypt, this is talking about the upper and lower polarities of ourselves, right? When we look at things from a spiritual point of view. Matter of fact, I think if we bring everything like that we're going to be looking at tonight, I want you to throw away any like religious, anything that you've got drilled into your head from religion that may, hold you back or hinder you from being able to take in all of the information, because I've got a lot I'm going to be dumping on you guys tonight. A lot. I've come to a lot of crazy conclusions here recently. And I can tell you this. We live in such a magical time right now. We are right on the cusp, guys. Right on the cusp of, and some of you probably already have began shifting. And we are coming to the point now to where we're going to be giving up the physical selves, right? We're going to be giving up the physical selves and, shedding the world, right? Making the changes. Understanding, the polarities of good and evil, and that, all of these things are just illusions of division. They're just different ends of, the spectrum of the same thing. Right? And all of that is God. That's source. All of us exist within that. We here, the ones that see, there's something so special about people that can see because they are different than all the rest. We've talked about the different complexes, these social, spiritual complexes, right? And that there's a 98% negative harvest, right? And we would look at the Yahweh and the Lucifer, kind of like spiritual, complexes, right? One side representing, the Old Testament God, one side representing, the green, the knowledge, the emerald, the light, the gnosis. It always goes back to Sophia. Sophia means wisdom in Greek, which may refer to Sophia, wisdom, Sophia, Gnosticism. Right? Gnostic just means to know, gnosis, knowledge. Set. Set is the god of deserts, storm, disorder, violence, and foreigners in ancient Egyptian religion and in ancient Greek. The god's name is given as Set, and Set had a positive role where he accompanies Ra on his bark to repel Apep, the serpent of chaos. Set had a vital role as a reconciled combatant. He was the lord of the Red Land, where he was the balance to Horus's role as lord of the Black Land. In the Osiris myth, the most important Egyptian myth, Set is portrayed as a usurper who killed and mutilated his own brother, Osiris. Osiris's wife, Isis, reassembled his corpse and resurrected her dead husband with the help of the goddess Nephthys. And the resurrection lasted long enough to conceive his son and heir, Horus. Horus sought revenge upon Set, and many of the ancient Egyptian myths describe their conflicts. In ancient Egyptian astronomy, Seth was commonly associated with the planet Mercury, and Set's related to west of the Nile of the desert. And whenever we look at Set, right? Set, Satan, 7. We see Apep, the serpent of chaos, right? That causes the extremes of polarities within ourselves. All the conflict that's created within our world creates conflict within us. That's where it manifests, from within us, right? So we are being constantly bombarded with, frequency, symbolism, just master manipulation of the not just mentally, but just, on a psychic level, how the masses have been done. It's just, it's insane. It's insane to say the least. But through that we've seen how deep the rabbit hole can go. Sith is related to the Nile, which is the desert, sometimes associated with the lesser deity of the desert, which is a deity depicted as a man with a desert determinative on his head. And you see he's the one who's in the same image with Ra, on the boat. And in every photo I took today, same thing. Let's look at Abraxas here. And after we go over these few deities, we'll get into this stuff. Abraxas. Abraxas is a mystical word, probably of Gnostic or Kabbalistic origins, which conveys geometrically the number 365 and is connected with the solar cycle. The word is also associated with the highest Gnostic deity and eventually became the name of a demon in occultism. And Abraxas is known from the Gnostic writings of Simon Magus, father of the Gnostics and Balassides of Egypt, an early 2nd century Gnostic teacher. The Gnostics claimed Abraxas as their supreme god and said that Jesus Christ was only a phantom sent to earth by him. They believed that his name contained great mysteries, as it was composed of the seven Greek letters that form the number 365. And think about that. That's 3, 11, 33, right? Which is also number in the days of a year. Abraxas, they thought, had under his command 365 gods, to whom they attributed 365 virtues, one for each day. Afterwards broke out the heretic Balassides, and he affirmed that there is a supreme deity by the name of Abraxas, who was created mind, which in Greek he calls nous, that thence sprang the word, that of him issued providence, virtue, and wisdom, that out of these subsequently were made principalities, powers, and angels, and that there ensued infinite issues and processions of angels, that by these angels 365 heavens were formed and the world, and in honor of Abraxas, whose name, if computed, has in itself this number. Now among the last of the angels, those who made this world, he placed the God of the Jews, latest that is, the God of the law and of the prophets, whom he denies to be a God, but affirms to be an angel. To him, he says, was allotted the seed of Abraham, and accordingly it was he who transferred the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt into the land of Canaan, affirming him to be turbulent above the other angels, and accordingly giving him the frequent arousing of seditions and wars, yes, the shedding of human blood. Christ, moreover, he affirms, has been sent not by this maker of the world, but by the above-named Abraxas, and to have come in a phantasm, been destitute of the substance of flesh, that it was not he who suffered among the Jews, but that Simon was crucified in his stead. Whence, again, there must be no believing on him who was crucified, lest one confess to have believed on Simon. Martyrdoms, he said, are not to be endured. The resurrection of the flesh he strenuously impugns, affirming that salvation has not been promised to bodies. Yeah, well, you guys can see here, it's Lucifuge right here. Abraxas represented the 365 aeons or emanations from the first cause, and as a pantheist, i.e. the all-god. He appears on the amulets in the head of a cock, or a phobos of a lion, Ra or Mithras. Ra or Mithras. The body of a man and his legs are serpents, which terminate in scorpions. And the serpent legs is who? Wadjet, right? Wadjet. That's the serpent legs also. That's why I included it, because it's all the same fucking thing. In his right hand he grasped a club or a flail, and in his left hand an oval shield. And you'll either see them have a shield or a book in their left hand, right? Usually a shield or a book is what they'll have. Other occultists, many demonologists, thought of Abraxas as a demon with similar appearance to the Gnostic god of the same name. It was very common for the gods and goddesses of pagan religions and heretic cults to be lessened to the status of demons by Christian writers. In fact, deities of heretic religions were the main source for Christian demons, a god in certain Asian theogonies. From his name is derived the magical word abracadabra. He is represented on amulets and having the head of a cock, the feet of a dragon, and a whip in his hand. Demonologists have made him a demon with the head of a king and serpents from his legs. Yeah, see, there you go. And this is what, anytime, same thing is being depicted too, by the way. This is birthing the age of Horus. That's what all of this is about. Everything that you see going on right now, there's, Set is basically like the third branch off of the tree from Adam and Eve, you know. Adam and Eve. They had Cain and Abel, and after the murder, Set was the third. Seth. And all of this is about Isis, Libertas, the Divine Feminine, Sophia, and its journey with darkness, and how it's created this child, which is Horus. Or you can look at it as the Virgin Mary birthing, baby Jesus. Like, all of these things are trying to show you the same thing, the same process that takes place. We are all individual temples, and they are, our wisdom has been put into everything we've created from the beginning of time, of history. Everything with real high vibrations has stuck around to kind of guide us to the moment we're into right now, right? And we are surrounded with the steps that we have to take to overcome, right? So there'll be no excuses for people to say, like, I didn't know, I'm sorry, God, my bad, I had no clue. That definitely won't be a good enough excuse. Just saying. That's not going to be a good enough excuse, because the truth has been put into your face so obviously, so long. I mean, every way you can possibly think of, the truth has been shoved down your throat. Right? And yes, there has been a psychological twist to it to try to distort it, to try to get you divided, through it, through the lies that are, weaved around it. And that's what keeps us dividing and fracturing, is conflict. When we have conflict within ourselves, we separate, we divide. We create separation through conflict. It's about returning to oneness and wholeness and unity, and letting go of this world, this persona, this incarnate, the physical incarnation and everything in it, and being okay no matter which way the vibration or the polarity swings, right? Whether it goes up or down, it doesn't matter. Because you are the vessel, so you can balance that out. You can counter that out. You can turn negative into positive. You can turn positive back into negative. You can do that. And it's all through your heart is how it's done. It generates the largest electromagnetic field. We've talked about this. That this serpent of chaos, this god of chaos and darkness, Apophis, Apep, this fabulous serpent, this enormous red dragon, this comet. It's meant to stir up man and bring us into the place we are now. We are so close to the magnetic reversal, and in the entire event, in my opinion, I feel like we farly and greatly underestimated what's created us. And like all of the things we try to describe when we talk about like World War III, or we talk about Planet X, or we talk about pole reversal, whatever, any of those things, like it doesn't grasp all the way. It can only get you a little understanding. It's pieces of understandings that you're getting from all of the different topics that we talk about to equip you to put the whole picture back together. It's about remembering, right? Remembering who you are, every dimensional aspect, remembering who we are. And don't you think that if it were possible, right? If it were possible, and it was meant to happen, other people would see. It's at a point right now, guys, to where, you either know or you don't. You either know or you don't. It doesn't mean to give up and like not try to make people aware, but it means the seeking comes from a desire within, and you can't make a person have that desire. The truth is something we polarize ourselves towards once we decide we truly want it, right? So we do it automatically. On a subconscious level, we're constantly progressing our spiritual evolution. Constantly. If we're aware of the process, especially. Now, we're going to get into the text here. And this is Flavius Josephus. And let me pull this up here. Flavius Josephus was a 1st century Romano-Jewish historian and military leader, best known for the Jewish War, born in Jerusalem, then part of Roman Judea, to a father of priestly descent and a mother who claimed royal ancestry. Oh, and everybody, don't forget, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Global Witness will be coming on this week. So this Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, everybody please come join me. I'll have Derek Bros Global Witness on, and we're going to be talking about just all types of cool stuff. So make sure to join me then, Wednesday, 6 p.m. And check out Global Witness if you haven't already. So, he was initially fought against the Romans during the First Jewish-Roman Wars, ahead of Jewish forces in Galilee until under surrendering 67 CE to Roman forces led by Vespasian. 6-week siege of Yodfat. Josephus claimed the Jewish messianic prophecies that initiated the First Jewish-Roman War made reference to Vespasian becoming Emperor of Rome. In response, decided to keep Josephus as a slave. And Josephus is basically Joseph. Fully defected to the Roman side, was granted Roman citizenship. He became an advisor and a friend of Vespasian's son Titus, serving as his translator when Titus led the siege of Jerusalem, 70 CE. Since the siege proved ineffective, and recorded Jewish history, special emphasis. Yeah, so you can see here, Mr. Josephus. Let's get into this. The priesthood of Aaron. When what had been described was brought to a conclusion, gifts not yet being presented. Here, let me make sure my camera's good here. Okay. I shouldn't have started early either. I shouldn't have started early. I don't think the notifications went out. When what has been described was brought to a conclusion, gifts not being yet presented, God appeared to Moses and enjoyed him. The best of them all deserved to obtain that honor on account of his virtue. And when he had gathered the multitude together, he gave them account of Aaron's virtue, and of his goodwill to them, and of the dangers he had undergone for their sakes, upon which they had given testimony to him in all respects, and showed their readiness to receive him. Moses said to them, O you Israelites, this work is already brought to a conclusion, in a manner most acceptable to God, and according to our abilities. And now, since you see that he is received into this tabernacle, We shall first of all stand in need of one that may officiate for us, and may minister to the sacrifices and to the prayers that are to be put up for us. And indeed, had the inquiry after such a person been left to me, I should have thought myself worthy of this honor, but both because all men are naturally fond of themselves, and because I am conscious to myself that I have taken a great deal of pains for your deliverance. But now God himself has determined that Aaron is worthy of this honor, and has chosen him for his priest, as knowing him to be the most righteous person among you, so that he is to put on the vestments which are consecrated to God. He is to have the care of the altars, and to make provisions for the sacrifices. And he that must put up prayers for you to God, who will readily hear them, not only because he is himself solicitous for your nation, but also because he will receive them as offered by one that he hath himself chosen to this office. The Hebrews were pleased with God, what had said, and gave their approbation to him whom God had ordained, for Aaron was of them all most deserving of this honor, on account of his own stock and gift of prophecy, and his brother's virtue. He had at that time 4 sons. Yeah, and his brother's virtue, right? His brother's virtue. Just like what I was talking about with Cain and Abel, right? His brother's virtue, the third brother, to replace the one that had been killed, right? You slay your lower carnal nature. Now Moses commanded them to make use in what you do through your higher nature, your divine feminine, is transfigure that and transmute that into the all, the in-between, right? It's got it all, right? It's got it all. It's a narrow gate. It's what holds good and evil together. It's what holds everything together, and that's what we are. That's what we are. And that's, this world falling apart right now is a direct result of the conscious, the subconscious, and the conscious reaction or effect that it's having on people like you that are watching. I don't believe that most of the population, I talked about the whole Yahweh, Lucifer, social memory complex, and the 98% harvest, negative harvest. We've seen that in the Hidden Hand interview. I showed you that. I don't want to pull it up again. I've pulled it up a bunch. They readily obeyed what Moses commanded. The number of the offerers was 605,550. 650. Now this money that was brought by the men there were free, and was given such as about 20 years old, but under 50. And what was collected was spent in the use of the tabernacle. Moses now purified, blah, blah, blah. Let's go a little bit down. Concerning the festivals. The law requires that out of the public expenses a lamb of the first year be killed every day at the beginning and the ending of the day, and on the 7th day. And see, this is another thing that I keep finding too. The whole sevens, 7 being the number of God, 7, Set, Satan, right? And the Lucifer complex is a 7th density being. Let's take a look at the Law of One by Ra. We're going to skip the introduction here. All right. Okay, sorry guys. Ra. I am Ra. I have not spoken through this instrument before. We had to wait until she was precisely tuned as we send a narrow band vibration. We greet you in the love and the light of our infinite Creator. We have watched your group. We have been called to your group, for you have a need of the diversity of experiences in channeling which go with a more intensive, or as you might call it, advanced approach to the system of studying the pattern of the illusions of your body, your mind, and your spirit, which you call seeking the truth. We hope to offer you a somewhat different slant upon the information which is always and ever the same. At this time, we would be glad to attempt to speak to any subject or question with those entities in the room that may have potential use in the requesting. Questioner: do you have a specific purpose? And if so, could you tell us something of what your purpose is? I am Ra. We communicate now. We are those who are of the law of one. In our vibration, the polarities are harmonized. The complexities are simplified. And the paradoxes have a solution. We are one. That is our nature and our purpose. We are old upon your planet and have served with your varying degrees of success in transmitting the law of one, of unity, of singleness to your peoples. We have walked your planet. We have seen the faces of your peoples. However, we now feel the great responsibility of staying in the capacity of removing the distortions and powers that have been given to the law of one. We will continue in this until, shall we say, your cycle is appropriately ended. If not this one, then the next. We are not a part of time, and thus are able to be with you in any of your times. Does this give you enough information from which to extract our purpose, my brother? Yes, thank you. I am Ra. We appreciate your vibrations. Is there another query? I've heard of the name Ra in connection with the Egyptians. Are you connected with that Ra in any way? I am Ra. Yes. The connection is congruency. May we elucidate? What do you not understand? Could you give me a little more detail about your role with the Egyptians? I am Ra. The identity of the vibration Ra is our identity. We, as a group, or what you would call a social memory complex, made contact with a race of your planetary kind, which you call Egyptians. Remember, North Egypt, South Egypt, Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt. It's positive and negative, right? Think of two triangles put together, a black one and a white one, and then one's pointing up and one's pointing down, right? That's the cube. Made contact with a race of your planetary kind, which you call Egyptians. Others from our density made contact at the same time in South America and the so-called lost cities, were their attempts to contribute to the law of one. We spoke to the one who heard and understood and was in a position to decree the law of one. However, the priests and people of that era quickly distorted our message, robbing it of the, shall we say, compassion with which unity is informed by its very nature. Since it contains all, it cannot abhor any. When we were no longer able to have appropriate channels through which to enunciate the law of one, we removed ourselves from the now hypocritical position which we had allowed ourselves to be placed in. Other myths, shall we say, having more to do with polarity and the things of your vibration that are complex, again took over in that particular society or complex. Does this form a sufficient amount of information, or could we speak further? Is there another query? The question was lost because the questioner was sitting too far from the tape recorder to be recorded. I am Ra. And let me just say, if you want to go check this out in here, I'm going to put the video link in the chat on your own also. Drop this in the chat here for you guys real fast. Don't go watch it now, but this is the audio book right there. So you guys can, in the chat, you guys can go listen to it. And when you listen to it, truly like listen to it. Just do the experiment on yourself, right? Do the experiment on yourself. Open your mind up and let the information flow in as if it was written specifically for you. That which is infinite cannot be many, for manyness is a finite concept. To have infinity, you must identify or define the infinity as unity. Otherwise, the term does not have any referent or meaning. In an infinite creator, there is only unity. You have seen simple examples of unity. You have seen the prism which shows all colors stemming from the sunlight. This is a simplistic example of unity. In truth, there is no right or wrong. There is no polarity, for all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point in your dance through the mind-body-spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. This distortion is not in any case necessary. It is chosen by each of you as an alternative to understanding the complete unity of thought which binds all things. You are not speaking of similar or somewhat like entities or things. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love. You are light. Light, love. You are. This is the law of one. May we enunciate in more detail? No. I am Ra. Is there another query at this time? Can you comment on the coming planetary changes in our physical reality? I am Ra. I preferred to wait till this instrument had again reached a proper state of depth, of singleness, or one-pointedness before we spoke. The changes are very, very trivial. We do not concern ourselves with the conditions which bring about harvest. If an individual makes efforts to act as a catalyst in general to increase the awareness of planetary consciousness, is he of any aid in that direction, or is he doing nothing but acting upon himself? I am Ra. We shall answer your question in two parts, both of which are important equally. Firstly, you must understand that the distinction between yourself and others is not visible to us. We do not consider that a separation exists between the consciousness-raising efforts of the distortion which you project as a personality and the distortion that you project as another personality. Thus, to learn is the same as to teach, unless you are not teaching what you are learning, in which case you have done you and them little good. This understanding should be pondered by your mind-body-spirit complex, as it is a distortion which plays a part in your experiences at this nexus. To turn to the second part of our response, may we state our understanding, limited though it is. Group individuated consciousness is that state of sharing understanding with the other distortions of mind-body-spirit complexes, which are within the evident reach of the mind-body-spirit complex, individual, or group. Thus, we are speaking to you and accepting both our distortions and your own in order to enunciate the laws of creation, more especially the law of one. We are not available to many of your peoples, for this is not an easily understood way of communication or type of philosophy. However, our very being is hopefully a poignant example of both the necessity and the near hopelessness of attempting to teach. Each of those in this group is striving to use, digest, and diversify the information which we are sending this instrument into the channels of the mind-body-spirit complex without distortion. The few whom you will illuminate by sharing your light are far more than enough reason for the greatest possible effort. To serve one is to serve all. Therefore, we offer the question back to you to state that indeed it is the only activity worth doing, to learn, teach, or teach, learn. There is nothing else which is of aid in demonstrating the original thought except your very being, and the distortions that come from the unexplained, inarticulate, or mystery-clad beings are many. Thus, to attempt to discern and weave your way through as many group mind-body-spirit distortions as possible among your peoples in the course of your teaching is a very good effort to make. We can speak no more valiantly of your desire to serve. May we speak in any other capacity upon this subject. Will you be available for communication? Can we call on you in the future? I am Ra. We have good contact with this instrument because of her recent experiences with trance. She is able to communicate our thoughts in your future. However, we advise care in disturbing the channel for a few moments and then the proper procedure for aiding an instrument who has, to some extent, the need of re-entering the mind-body-spirit complex, which the instrument has chosen for the life experience of this time-space. Do you understand how to nurture this instrument? No. Could you explain it? We suggest first a brief period of silence, then the repetition of the instrument's vibratory complex of sound in your density, which you call name. Repeat until an answer is obtained. Then the laying of the hands at the neck region for a brief period so that the instrument may recharge batteries, which are not, shall we say, full of the essence of this particular field at this time. And finally, a gift of water into which the love of all present has been given. This will restore this entity, for her distortions contain great sensitivity towards the vibrations of love, and the charged water will affect comfort. Do you now understand? Not completely. I am Ra. We search your mind to find the vibration, and the nickname is the vibration from which you contains the largest amount of what you would call love. Others would call this entity. The charging of the water is done by those present taking their places over the glass and visualizing the power of love entering the water. This will charge that very effective medium with those vibrations. This instrument is at this time quite fatigued. However, her heart is such as that she continues to remain open to us and useful as a channel. This is why we have spent the time-space explaining how the distortions of what you may call fatigue may be ameliorated. Under no circumstances should this instrument be touched until she has responded to her name. I do not wish to take this instrument beyond her capacity for physical energy. It grows low. Therefore, I must leave this instrument. I leave you in the glory and peace and unity. Go forth in peace, rejoicing in the power of the one Creator. I am Ra. And I'm not big on channel messages, man. I'm not like, one of those people that, buy into channeling, at all. And I know that's, weird because I'm into the tarot stuff, and that's, a form of, divination. But I mean, this book here, this is if you're open to it, this thing can put you in quite the state. It says, I am Ra. The possibility of communication, as you would call it, from the one to the one through distortion acceptable for meaning is the reason we contacted this group. There are few who will grasp, without significant distortion, that which we communicate through this connection with this mind-body-spirit complex. However, if it be your desire to share our communications with others, we have the distortion towards a perception that this would be most helpful in regularizing and crystallizing your own patterns of vibration upon the levels of experience which you call the life, if one is illuminated or not all illuminated. Therefore, we are oriented towards speaking for you in whatever supply of speakingness you may desire. To teach, learn is the law of one of its most elementary distortions. We are those of the Confederation, who 11,000 of your years ago came to two of your planetary cultures, which were at that time closely in touch with the creation of the one Creator. It was our naive belief that we could teach and learn by direct contact, and that free will distortions of individual feelings or personality were in no danger. We had no thought of their being disturbed, as these cultures were already closely aligned with an all-embracing belief in the liveness or consciousness of all. We came and were welcomed by the peoples whom we were wished to serve. We attempted to aid them in technical ways having to do with the healing of mind-body-spirit complex distortions through the use of the crystal, appropriate to the distortion, placed within a certain appropriate series of ratios of time-space material. Thus were the pyramids created. We found that the technology was reserved largely for those with the effectual mind-body distortion of power. This was not intended by the law of one. We left your peoples. The group that was to work with those in the area of South America, as you call that portion of your sphere, gave up not so easily. They returned. We did not. However, we have never left your vibration due to our responsibility for the changes in consciousness we had first caused and then found distorted in ways not relegated to the law of one. We attempted to contact the rulers of the land to which we had come, that land which you call Egypt, or in some areas, the Holy Land. The land which we had come, that land you call Egypt, right? It's the narrow gate. In the 18th dynasty, as it's known in your records of space-time distortions, we were able to contact a pharaoh, as you would call him. This man was small in life experience on your plane and was a what this instrument would call wanderer. Thus, this mind-body-spirit complex received our communication distortions and was able to blend his distortions with our own. This young entity had been given a vibratory complex of sound which vibrated in honor of a prosperous god. As this mind-body complex, which we call instrument for convenience, would call Ammon, the entity decided that this name, being in honor of one among many gods, was not acceptable for inclusion in his vibratory sound complex. Thus he changed his name to one which honored the sun disk. This distortion is called Aten, Akhenaten, right? And it always goes back to that, does it not? Akhenaten, and it's really being Moses, was a close distortion to our reality. And when you look in a lot of this stuff, what you'll see is Aten's heresy. Aten's heresy. Where is it at here? Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Aten's heresy. When thou crossed the sky, all faces behold thee. But when thou departed, thou art hidden from their faces. When thou settest in the western mountain, remember we were just talking about the deity from the west, then they sleep in the manner of death. The fashioner of that which the soil produces. A mother of prophet to gods and men. A patient craftsman, greatly wearying himself as their maker. Valiant herdsman, driving his cattle. Their refuge in the making of their living, the sole Lord, who reaches the end of the lands every day as one who sees them that tread thereon. Every land chatters at his rising every day in order to praise him. Akhenaten constructed the monotheist worship of the Aten in direct competition with that of Amun. Praises of Amun are strikingly similar in language to the hymn of Aten, and that's what we just read was the hymn of Aten. And when you look into the names, every sound you can think of under the sun goes into Amun, Ra, and Aten. I mean, every sound you can think of goes into that. And see, Amun, Amun Ra. See, Amun, right there. Aten, Akhenaten. I was close distortion as understand our nature, mind, body, spirit, complex distortion. However, it does not totally come into alignment with that intended teaching learning which was sin. This entity, Akhenaten, became convinced that the vibration of one was a true spiritual vibration and thus decreed the law of one. However, this entity's beliefs were accepted by very few. His priests gave lip service only, without the spiritual distortion towards seeking. The peoples continued in their beliefs. When this entity was no longer in this density, again the polarized beliefs in the many gods came into their own and continued so until the one known as Muhammad delivered the peoples into a more intelligible distortion of mind-body-spirit relationships. Do you have a more detailed interest at this time? We are very interested in this entire story that you have to tell and getting into the law of one in quite some detail. There will be several questions that I'll ask as we go along that may not be related directly to understanding the law of one. However, I believe that the proper way of presenting this as a teach-learning vehicle is to investigate different facets of what you tell us. You spoke of crystal healing. One other thing I want to mention is that when the instrument becomes fatigued, we want to cut off communication and continue questions at a later time when the instrument is recharged. If the instrument is suitable at this time, we would like a little information about the crystal healing that you mentioned. I am Ra. The principle of crystal healing is based upon an understanding of the hierarchical nature of the structure of the illusion which is the physical body, as you would call it. There are crystals which work upon the energies coming into the spiritual body. There are crystals which work upon the distortions from the spirit to mind. There are crystals which balance the distortions between the mind and the body. All of these crystal healings are charged through purified channels. Without the relative crystallization of the healer working with the crystal will not be properly charged. The other ingredient is a proper alignment with which the energy fields of the planet upon which you dwell and the holistic or cosmic distortions or streamings which enter the planetary aura in such a manner that an appropriate ratio of shapes and placements within these shapes is of indicated aid in the untangling or balancing process. To go through the various crystals to be used would be exhaustive to this instrument, although you may ask us if you wish in another session. The delicacy, shall we say, of the choosing of the crystal is very critical, and, in truth, a crystalline structure such as a diamond or ruby can be used by any purified channel who is filled with the love light of one in almost any application. This, of course, takes initiation, and there have never been many to preserve to the extent of progressing through the various distortion leavings which initiation causes. May we further inform you in any fairly brief way upon this or another subject? Questioner: Yes. You mentioned that the pyramids were an outgrowth of this. Could you expand a little on that? Were you responsible for the building of the pyramid, and what was the purpose of the pyramid? Now listen to the answer of what they give about this, because this is actually really cool. Because once again, in our world, we have a concept of what these things are, and it really has nothing to do with what they actually mean, And when we look at a pyramid is you, right? It's the vehicle for your consciousness, and that's why they build them all over this planet, to be able to harness the polarity, the energy, the frequencies all around, and harness, all of us. That way, when now that we're at the harvest, finally has come, they have put us through this process so many times, and it's like putting diamonds under pressure. And we are literally at the most critical part of all of this. It's time to shine. The larger pyramids were built by our ability by using the forces of one. The stones are alive. It has not yet been so understood by the mind-body-spirit distortions of your culture. The purposes of the pyramids were two. Firstly, to have a properly oriented place of initiation for those who wish to become purified or initiated channels for the law of one. 2. We wish then to carefully guide the initiates in developing a healing of the people whom they sought to aid and of the planet itself. Pyramid after pyramid charged by the crystal and initiate were designed to balance their incoming energy of the one creation with the many and multiple distortions of the planetary mind, body, spirit. In this effort we were able to continue work that brothers within the Confederation had effected through the building of the crystal-bearing structures, and thus complete a ring, if you will, of these about the earth, as the instruments would have us vibrate its surface. The instrument begins to lose energy. We ask for one more query or subject, then we shall take our leave for this time-space. You might mention that originally there was a capstone on the pyramid at the top. What was it made of, and how you moved of the heavy blocks to build the pyramid? What technique was used for that? I am Ra. I request that we be asked this question in our next work time, as you would term the distortion sharing that our energies produce. If you would have any questions about the proper use of this mind, body, spirit, we would appreciate you asking them now. Consider them asked. I don't have anything to go on. What is the proper use of this instrument? What should we do? What should we do to maximize her ability and her comfort? I am Ra. We are pleased that you have asked this question, for it is not our understanding we have the right to do any perceptions on any subject but philosophy without direct question. Interesting for those that read this. Did it elevate your consciousness? Did it elevate your consciousness? Well, let me just tell you this. It's not going to hit everybody the same. So there's that. Right? Not everybody's able to this is like a channeled message. Like if you when we're reading this, and I'm going to be doing like videos on I'm going to do the whole entire Law of One series. It's not going to be like an everyday thing, but I do want to. I want to just go through the whole thing and give people the opportunity to try and do it themselves if they want to, You read this stuff over 20 years ago. Trippy to hear it again. Yeah. It is trippy. It really is. We seek the law of one. Why do we seek Ra? Ra is a humble messenger of the law of one. Rejoice then and purify this place in the law of one. Let no thought form enter the circle we have walked about this instrument, for the law is one. Their instrument is at this time should be in trance. The proper alignment is the head pointed 20 degrees north by northeast. This is the direction from which the newer or new age distortions of love light, which are less distorted, are emanating, and this instrument will find comfort therein. This is a sensitive instrument, by which we mean the distortions which enter her mind-body-spirit complex come from any of her senses. Thus it is well to do the following. Place at the entity's head a virgin chalice of water. To the center, the book most closely aligned with the instrument's mental distortions, which are aligned most closely with the law of one, that being the Bible that she touches most frequently. To the other side of the Bible, a small amount of scents or incense and a virgin censer. To the rear of the book, symbolizing one, open to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, a white candle. The instrument would be strengthened by the wearing of a white robe. The instrument shall be covered and prone, the eyes covered. We feel that, though this is a complex of activity or circumstance and may seem very distorted from a purposeful teach and learning experience, these elaborations on the technique of trance will ease the mind distortions of those about the instrument as they perceive the improvement in the instrument's distortions with regard to fatigue. We add only that if these teach learning sessions are held during time and space during which your sun body does not light your room, that it is best to call the instrument before the lighting of the illuminatory mechanism. I am Ra. I leave you in the glory and the peace of the one Creator. Rejoice in the love light and go forth in the power of the one Creator. In joy we leave you, Adonai. And Adonai is what Jesus said when he was on the cross. Adonai. That was the word he used. So, just saying. Very cool stuff. And I don't know if you guys are... You guys want me to do more videos on it? You know, you tell me, man. Yup, facts, proof. Truth is, God don't change. God is the creator. Don't have no son. God has no one next to God. Don't add to God. God the creator is alone, one God, and God we trust. Yeah, well, I'm with you. I'm with you, Jedi. I mean, I think everything is one too. But I mean, it does. All these father, son, mother, like these are just what it's trying to explain to you is that there is no separation. If your creator is infinite, right? He's all. Well, then all is unity, right? There can't be nothing else. And if that's the truth, then there is no separation in God, right? In source. Keep reading. Okay. Yes, I will do more of it. All right. My first question is, did we correctly perform the ritual for starting the communication? Ra. I am Ra. The placement of the artifacts designated to balance the instrument should be placed at the instrument's head for the least distortion of effect. The remainder of the beginning account of purpose is quite acceptable for those speaking desire to serve. Otherwise, the attendant emphasis on mind complexities would not have been effected properly. We caution you to guard against those who are not wishing to serve others above all else from taking part in the beginning or in lending their distortions of mind-body-spirit complex to any session, as we should then be unable to properly blend our distortions with those of this instrument. Should I move the Bible, candle, and incense at this time? I am Ra. This would be appropriate. After moving the items, is this the proper position? I am Ra. Please correct the angle of the incense so that it is perpendicular to the plane of 20 degrees north by northeast. After making the correction, is this satisfactory? I am Ra. Please check by eye to make fine correction. We'll explain the process by which this becomes a significant distortion balancer. The incense acts as an energizer to the physical body of this instrument, signifying its humanity. This is therefore a necessity that the wafted smoke is perceived from the same relative angle as the instrument perceives the open Bible, balanced by the lighted candle, signifying love and light and love, and therefore give the mental and emotional, shall we call it, distortion complex for this instrument the sight of paradise and peace which it seeks. Thus energized from the lower to the higher, the instrument becomes balanced and does not grow fatigued. We appreciate your concern, for this will enable our teach learning to proceed more easily. Does everything appear correctly aligned now? I am Ra. I judge it within limits of acceptability. At the last session, we had 2 questions that we're saving for this session. One having to do with the possible capstone on top of the Great Pyramid at Giza, the other having to do with how you move the heavy blocks that make up the pyramid. I know these questions are of no importance with respect to the Law of One, but it was my judgment, and please correct me if I'm wrong, to make necessary suggestions that this would provide an easy entry for those who would read the material that will eventually become a book. We are very grateful for your contact and will certainly take any suggestions as how we should receive this information. I am Ra. I will not suggest the proper series of questions. This is your prerogative as a free agent of the Law of One, having learned and understood that our social memory complex cannot effectually discern the distortions of the societal mind-body-spirit complex of your peoples. We wish now to fulfill our teach learning honor responsibility by answering what is asked. This only will suffice, for we cannot plumb the depths of the distortion complexes which infect your peoples. The first question, therefore, is the capstone. We iterate the unimportance of this type of data. The so-called Great Pyramid had 2 capstones. One was of our design and was of smaller and carefully contrived pieces of the material upon your planet, which you call granite. This was contrived for crystalline properties and for the proper flow of your atmosphere via a type of what you would call chimney. How about that? One was granite with crystalline properties for the flow of our atmosphere. At a time when we had a people had left your density, the original was taken away and a more precious one substituted. It consisted in part of a golden material. This did not change the properties of the pyramid, as you call it, at all, and was a distortion due to the desire of a few to mandate the use of the structure as a royal place only. Do you wish to query further upon the first question? What do you mean by chimney? What was its specific purpose? I am Ra. There is a proper flow of your atmosphere which, through small, freshens the whole of the structure. This was designed by having airflow ducts, as this instrument might call them, situated so that there was a freshness of atmosphere without any disturbance or draft. How were the blocks moved? I am Ra. You must picture the activity within all that is created. The energy is, though finite, quite large compared to the understanding or distortion by your peoples. This is an obvious point well known to your people, but little considered. This energy is intelligent. It is hierarchical, much as your mind-body-spirit complex dwells within a hierarchy of vehicles and retains, therefore, the shell or shape or field, and the intelligence of each ascendingly intelligent or balanced body. So does each atom of such a material as rock. When one can speak to that intelligence, the finite energy of the physical or chemical rock body is put into contact with that of infinite power, which is resident in the more well-tuned bodies, be they human or rock. With this connection made, a request may be given. The intelligence of the infinite rockness communicates to its physical vehicle, and that splitting and moving which is desired is then carried out through the displacement of the energy field of rockness from infinity to a dimension which we conveniently call simply infinity. In this way, that which is required is accomplished due to a cooperation of the infinite understanding of the Creator indwelling in the living rock. This is, of course, the mechanism by which many things are accomplished which are not subject to your present means of physical analysis of action at a distance. Questioner: I'm reminded of the statement approximately that if you had faith to move a mountain, the mountain would move. This seems to be approximately what you were saying. That if you are fully aware of the Law of One, you will be able to do these things. Is that correct? I am Ra. The vibratory distortion of sound, faith, is perhaps one of the stumbling blocks between those of what we may call the infinite path and those of the finite, proving and understanding. You are precisely correct in your understanding of the congruency of faith and intelligent infinity. However, one is a spiritual term, the other more acceptable perhaps to the conceptual framework distortions of those who seek with measure and pen. Questioner: Then if an individual is totally informed with respect to the Law of One and lives to the Law of One, then such things as the building of the pyramids by direct mental effort would be commonplace? Is that what I am to understand? I am Ra. You are incorrect, and that there is a distinction between the individual power through the law of one and the combined, or a societal memory complex, mind, body, spirit understanding of the law of one. See, they're saying there's no, you have all the power because you are the all. In the first case, only the one individual purified of all flaws could move a mountain. In the case of mass understanding of unity, each individual may contain an acceptable amount of distortion, and yet the mass mind could move mountains. The progress is normally from the understanding which you now seek to a dimension of understanding which is governed by the laws of love, and which seeks the laws of light. Those who are vibrating with the law of light seek the law of one. Those who vibrate with the law of one seek the law of foreverness. We cannot say what is beyond this dissolution of the unified self with all that there is, for we still seek to become all that there is, and still are we, Ra, thus our paths go onward. Questioner. Was the pyramid then built by the mutual action of many? I am Ra. The pyramids which we thought built were constructed thought forms created by our social memory complex. Then the rock was created in place rather than moved from someplace else. Is that correct? I am Ra. We built with everlasting rock, the Great Pyramid, as you call it. The pyramids were built with stone, moved from one place to another. What is everlasting rock? I am Ra. If you can understand the concept of the thought forms, you will realize that the thought form is more regular in its distortion than the energy fields created by the materials in the rock, which have been created through thought form, from thought to infinite finite energy and beingness in your, shall we say, distorted reflection of the level of thought form. May we answer you in a more helpful way. That is rather trivial, but I was wondering why the pyramid was built with many blocks rather than creating the whole thing as one form created at once. I am Ra. There is a law which we believe to be one of the more significant primal distortions of the law of one. That is the law of confusion. You have called this the law of free will. We wish to make a healing machine, or time-space ratio complex which was efficacious as possible. However, we did not desire to allow the mystery to be penetrated by peoples in such a way that we became worshipped as builders of a miraculous pyramid. Thus it appears to be made, not thought. Questioner. Well, then you speak of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, I assume, as primarily a healing machine, and also you spoke of it as a device for initiation. Are these one and the same concept? I am Ra. They are part of one complex of love, light, intent, and sharing. To use the healing properly, it was important to have a purified and dedicated channel or energizer for the love light of the infinite creator to flow through. Thus, the initiatory method was necessary to prepare the mind, the body, and the spirit for service in the creator's work. The two are integral. Questioner. Does the shape of the pyramid have a function in the initiation process? I am Ra. This is a large question. We feel that we shall begin and ask you to reevaluate and ask further at a later session. This somewhat, shall we say, informative point. To begin, there are two main functions of the pyramid in relation to the initiatory procedures. One has to do with the body. Before the body can be initiated, the mind must be initiated. This is the point at which most adepts of your present cycle find their mind-body-spirit complexes distorted from. When the character and personality that is the true identity of the mind has been discovered, the body then must be known in each and every way. Thus, the various functions of the body need understanding and control with detachment. The first use of the pyramid, then, is the going down into the pyramid for purposes of deprivation of sensory input so that the body may, in a sense, be dead and another life begin. We advise at this time any necessary questions and a fairly rapid ending of this session. And the only question, is there anything that we have done wrong? I am Ra. We scan this instrument. This instrument has been much aided by these precautions. We suggest only some attention to the neck, which seems in this mind-body distortion to be distorted in the area of strength and weakness. More support, therefore, to the neck area may be an aid. Should we have the instrument drink from the water from the chalice behind her head, or should we have her drink from another glass after we charge it with love? I am Ra. That and only the chalice shall be the most beneficial, as the virgin material living in the chalice accepts, retains, and responds to the love vibration activated by your beingness. I am Ra. I will now leave this group rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator, Adonai. Very crazy stuff. Very crazy stuff, man. Let me check the chat here. Distraction. I don't know. Oh, well, thank you, Mandy. Yeah, if you guys want to support, links are below. Alright, well, let's get over to this now. Ra. Ra was the ancient Egyptian deity of the sun by the 5th dynasty. In the 25th and 24th centuries BC, he had become one of the most important gods in the Egyptian religion. In one of his many forms, Ra had the head of a falcon and the sun disk of Wadjet resting on his head. The sun disk of Wadjet, right? The children of the sun, the children of the light, right? Wadjet is Isis, Libertas, Hecate, Prometheus. I mean, there's a billion. Everything that we see is always telling us the same thing, trying to show us where we come from, trying to show us who we are. Ra, pronounced as Ra, sometimes as Ray, like a ray of light. And remember, Ray Paz will destroy all who oppose him in the Nostradamus prophecy. I believe it's Ra that he's talking about. Is an ancient Egyptian sun god. By the 5th dynasty, he became a major deity in ancient Egyptian religion, identified primarily with the midday sun, with other deities representing other positions of the sun. Ra changed greatly over time, and in one form or another, much later he was said to represent the sun at all times of the day. The chief cult center of Ra first was based in Heliopolis, ancient Inunu, meaning the city of the sun. In later Egyptian dynastic times, Ra was merged with the god Horus as Re-Horkati, and many variant spellings. When his worship reached the position of importance in the Egyptian pantheon, he was believed to command the sky, the earth, and the underworld. He's Lucifer, by the way. He was associated with the falcon, the symbol of other sun deities who protected the pharaohs in later myths. After the deities were paired with the pharaohs, the children of Hathor were considered to be fathered by Ra. Although not the contemporary view, E.A. Wallace Budge claims that Ra was the one god of Egyptian monotheism, of which all other deities were aspects, manifestations, phases, or forms. Ra should be pronounced as Ra or Re, hence the alternative spelling. Then the meaning of Ra's name is uncertain, but it is thought that if not for sun, it may be a variant or linked to creative. As his cult arose in the Egyptian pantheon, Ra often replaced Atum as the father, grandfather, and great-grandfather in deities of the Ennead and became creator of the world. Up until the mid-20th century, theories of Egyptologists postulated that the Heliopolis priesthood established this Pesajet at Heliopolis in order to place their local sun god Ra above all other deities such as Osiris. And Osiris would be essentially the same thing as, you know, the child that's being born, or Wadjet, or any of it, right? One soul infinitely resurrecting in spirit. One soul infinitely resurrecting in spirit. It's the Lucifer complex that's in a small portion of people. Many Egyptologists now question this. It appears almost certain, rather than the great Ennead, that the 9 deities of Atum, Geb, Isis, Nut, Osiris, Nephthys, Set, Shu, and Tefnut first appeared during the decline of Ra's cult in the 6th dynasty, and after that introduction of the new Pesajet, The cult of Ra soon saw a great resurgence until the worship of Horus gained prominence. Remember, Aleister Crowley, this is the age of Horus, right? Horus is the child that's born of Isis. Afterward, worship focused on the syncretic solar deity Ra Horakti, which is Horus of the two horizons. During the Amarna period of the 18th dynasty, Akhenaten introduced worship of another solar deity, Aten. The deified solar disk represented his preferred regional deity as he attempted to lessen the influence of the temple of Atum. He built the Wadjet Aten, elevating the sun disk temple in Anu. Blocks from this temple later were used to build the walls in the medieval city of Cairo and are included in some of the city gates. The cult of the Menevus bull, an embodiment of Ra, had its center here and established in the foreign burial ground for the sacrificed bulls north of the city. In the later myths, Ra was seen to have created Sekhmet, the early lioness war goddess, who becomes Hathor. Sekhmet, who becomes Hathor, right? Set, who becomes Hathor. The cow goddess after she has sufficiently punished mankind as an avenging Eye of Ra. An avenging angel. An avenging angel. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. You know, this third strand of people that we were talking about, you know, those that the cult of Set, Sethians, and, you know, all of that. Sophia, all of it keeps taking us back to the same places, the same concepts, the same things. All showing us that there's a small portion of people on the earth right now that have the light in them. They have the light in them, and that they're put here. Like the culprit says, the heralds of doom won't be recognized for who they are. I think it's talking about these people. This changes the themes of much earlier myths into aspects of his, and he is often said to be father of both, and brother to the god Osiris. Afterwards, nearly all forms of life supposedly were created only by Ra, who called each of them into existence, coming and speaking the secret names. Eventually, humans were created from Ra's tears and sweat, the cattle of Ra. And here, let me show you this. Let me see. Look at this, man. Cow born with 3 eyes. The eye of Ra. The Shiva third eye. This has just recently happened too. Weird as shit. Ra shared many of his symbols with other solar deities, in particular Horus. And usually depicted as a falcon in artwork. Ra primarily is depicted as a man wearing a pharaoh's crown, a sign of leadership of the deities, and the Wadjet sun disk above his head. Often he has a falcon's head, as does Horus. In later myths about Ra, the sun is portrayed differently according to the position of the sun in the sky. This was an early theme in Egyptian myths, and different names assigned to the sun depending upon its position in the sky. At sunrise, he was the young boy Khepri. At noon, the falcon-headed man Horakti, and the sunset elder Atum. This constant aging was suggested by some later Egyptians as the reason Ra stayed separate from the world and let Osiris and Horus rule in his place. The idea is often coupled with the myth in which Isis is able to trick an elderly Ra, having ruled on earth as a human pharaoh, into revealing his secret name, and thus the secret of his power. Ra subsequently lost his power, resulting in the cult of Isis and Osiris to rise in importance. The Bennu bird, Bennu, right? And remember, the satellites, Bennu, and what's the other one? I think it's from Osiris Rex, the asteroid Bennu, and Osiris Rex, which is next to Mars, and then it's Dart and Lucy, that's next to Venus. Very crazy. Symbol of fire and rebirth, the Wadjet sun disk, also shown as a hieroglyphic Ankh, symbolizes the life given by the sun. Obelisk represents the rays of the sun that was worshipped as a home of a solar god. Pyramids align east to west. Bull, a cobra, commonly seen wrapped around the sun disk, the form of the goddess Wadjet, who often depicted as an Egyptian cobra, an animal thought only to be female, and reproducing through parthenogenesis. Some traditions relate that the first Wadjet was created by the goddess Isis, who formed it from the dust of the earth and the spittle of Atum. The Urus was the instrument with which Isis gained the throne of Egypt, and her husband Osiris, as the sun, Ra, was thought to see everything. And it's you, man. This is what they're talking about. Together with Atum, Ra was believed to have fathered Shu and Tefnut, who in turn born Geb and Nut, and Geb would be probably something akin to Set. These in turn were the parents of Osiris, Isis, and Set, also known as Seth, right? And Nephthys, all nine made up the Heliopolitan Ennead. And this is the initiation, the journey of Ra traveling through the underworld, showing you here. For the Egyptians, the sun represented light, warmth, and growth. Very important to the Egyptians, no coincidence. The sun, the ruler of all, in his solar bark. The journey he undertakes every night. Primordial serpent and sunboat. Ra was thought to travel in a sunboat, the boat of millions, to protect its fires from the primordial waters of the underworld as it passed through during the night. Ra traveled in the sunboat with various other deities, including Set and Mahin, who defended against the monsters on the underworld. Oh, is that right? So Ra travels in the sunboat with various deities. Ra's nemesis, then. The Dark Lord, behold, he's coming on the clouds. Every eye will see him. And Set and Mahin were Saturn and Jupiter, who defended against the monsters of the underworld. And Maat, who guided the boat's course. Right? The goddess Nut and the sky. And they're attributing the concept of rebirth and renewal to Ra and strengthening his role as creator god. And it's the same thing. You see the sun disk and the crescent right there. The pyramid text, Ra is perpetually resurrected in the mornings in the form of a scarab beetle, Khepri, which means the emerging one. He rides on the primordial waters called Noon in his sacred bark, along with a number of deities across the sky. Where at sunset he becomes Atum, the All-Lord. At sunset he is swallowed by the goddess Nut, who gives birth to him each morning again as Khepri. Therefore, the cycle continued with birth, life, and death. Birth, life, and death, which are all I don't think that they're spamming. Oh, Bennu from Rising Phoenix Bird. Huh. Well, it's... Nah, if somebody was being a piece of shit, kick them out, man. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to read the chat here. My bad. Well, I guess I'm gonna wrap up this one. Let's go into this. Should I save this? I don't know. Should I save this, guys? Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna have a good one for you tomorrow, though. If you guys want, please hit the like for me. We'll check this out first. Let's do this first. Young. But please hit the like if you're in the chat wherever you're watching from. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment as soon as the video's over. And if you want to support the channel, support my work, you can donate with the links below. Carl Jung described a three-stage development in the human perception of God. The first stage was that God appeared undifferentiated. The second stage is the perception of a benevolent Lord and an evil devil, in which each are separated to the point where the devil is finally banished. The final stage is the integration of the Lord and the devil. In the 7 sermons to the dead, he says, Abraxas is the God whom it is difficult to know. His power is the very greatest, because man does not perceive it. Man sees the sunum bonum, or supreme God of the sun, and also the infimum malum, endless evil of the devil, but Abraxas he does not see. For he is indefinable life itself, which the mother of good and evil alike is truly the terrible one. The sun and also the eternally gaping abyss of emptiness, magnificent even as a lion at the very moment when he strikes his prey down, his beauty is like the beauty of a spring morn. He is the monster of the underworld. He is the bright light of day and the deepest night of madness. He is the mightiest manifest being, and in him creation becomes frightened of itself. Carl Jung quoted the elements of Gnosticism on Abraxas, a thousand-armed ploy, coiled noit of winged serpents, and the hermaphrodite of the earliest beginnings, the lord of toads and frogs, which live in the water, abundance that seeketh union with emptiness. Abundance that seeketh union with emptiness. Wow. Alright, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody, please make sure to open the message back up. When John's done, we want to open it. The chat wouldn't go back. Okay. Well, I don't know what's happened with the chat. Dude, I don't know what's going on with my chat or anything, man. So, who knows at this point. But I do appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out with me. If anybody has any questions or something, you can put it in there. I'll hang out for a minute or two. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all of them, man. Instagram, Twitter. Also, consider donating, supporting to the channel. You can do that with the links in the description below. PayPal, Venmo, Patreon. Join us on Patreon, Cash App. I'll be doing a private video within the next day or so, for sure. And on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Global Witness, Derek Bros is coming on Best Damn Podcast. So everybody join me then. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Derek Bros, the Global Witness. Go check out Global Witness on YouTube and TikTok. He's a really good follow on Twitter too. Stay cool, Mr. King. Cool. There is no foul language attack. Oh. You didn't notice anything wrong in chat? Okay, alright. See you in Baltimore? Yeah. Oh my god. Hey, this is the worst. I don't even feel like I've cussed in this video, which is rare for me. But this is the shittiest weather I've ever been in. Baltimore. Not great weather here. I can tell you that much. Not my type. I got to see the ocean though. So that was pretty cool. Derek Bros. Yeah. John, give us more. The mods are just deciding on what is spam and what is. Okay. Alright. Well, you know. Alright. Well, I appreciate you guys so much, man. Everything that you guys do for me. Just taking the time to watch and, join us on Discord. It's free to join the Discord. That's where we do the private shows. The private shows, I'm gonna make it available to everybody this coming up one. So make sure to join us. All right, man. It always comes back to Abraxas. It does, doesn't it? Hey, Abraxas is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I'm still trying to hone in on how I want to go about it. So, but I got a lot of stuff. You got your merch. You love it. Your tote bag. That's what's up. That's cool. I'm so glad. Somebody's got a tote bag and somebody's got a coffee mug. We got all kinds of cool shit coming in. So that's good. I'm glad that you guys are getting stuff. That's one of the things that I like about Patreon is because you can, average person, whether you're just a couple dollars, you can do that on Patreon and you get something back for it. That's why I think Patreon's pretty cool, because everything's kind of more set up for the patrons. So, yeah. Ask a question, I hope it doesn't sound crazy. Where are the mummies preserved so well from the Egyptian kings because they're going to come back again? Wow. Yes, I would say so. They were preserved well for something, probably to attach their energy to. Who knows? Who knows what they were really preserved for? If it was some type of a ritual, but I think so. So that's what I think. Well, I'm glad you love the mug. All right, guys. Please, everybody, check out the bestdampodcast.tv. Follow me Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and hit that like. Leave a comment soon the video's over. Share this and donate support if you can. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember, Jesus is the truth, way, and life. God bless you all. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Peace.
Something to relax, babe. My thrill gone and my girl gone. Token ain't fit, just a bent bridge that I built this world on. 17, you couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna be the biggest deal. Feeling at that relationship, show me failure, it's in me still. Caught on camera, baby, found out her boyfriend got history. I fucked that whole shit up, it's done. That stuff woke up the bitch in me. Fucked around and signed this deal the same time my ambition leave. Supposed to be go time now, I might just let them write that hit for me. Where's the album, where he at? They say I love you when you sad, you keep it real. To keep it real, I do not wanna write no raps. I wanna be distracted by them red high heels. Hit the scene, boom, chit chat is getting real. I'm starting to think they only believe in me when I believe in me. But what with my referrals gone? Been a year, my girl gone. Irony about replacement, bitch, you feel my lust. I get so twisted with her, I can't even fuck. I'm a hit and miss a loss. Over budget, I'm a cost. I get lost inside the red just to show myself a boss. Scrap the album, another time, another time, another time, and time passed. Label spent a couple million on a fucking white flag.